For Creamer Media's Polity, I'm Tabi Shomulikai. Joining me today is Professor Raymond Suttner, here to discuss part one of xenophobia and democracy. Welcome, Professor Raymond.
Thank you.
In relating to the conflict surrounding foreign traders, you refer to an ambiguous situation in relation to communities. So, what is the character of their relationships with the communities, especially when there is looting?
The impression that one gets is that in some of the media reporting and some of the xenophobic discourse is that these traders are isolated in the communities where they stay. But it's far from that. They have a particular way of trading that wins the trust of local people. For example, if you want to get credit, these people do give credit. If you want cigarettes, you don't have to buy a whole box. They'll give you one cigarette. And it suits the communities to buy in these shops because they open very early and they close very late. And this doesn't happen with the shops in the city and so forth. So that if they want to get some things after all the shops are closed, these traders are open. But some of them have testified to the fact that when there's an attack on a trader and people loot, they themselves, the ones who support the foreign traders being there, go and loot. And they're a bit ashamed of this. However, the way I would understand it is that we're talking about a situation when people are desperate, they're hungry, and their moral values are temporarily pushed aside and they go and loot with the rest of them. So that there's an ambiguity. They're both supportive and they loot. But looting is not every day. But when it happens, some of the people who loot are likely to be ones who say they must stay in the township.
So why do you say that the call for action should not simply be individualized, as in removing someone from cabinet or acting against one or two people who target foreign Africans or Asians?
What people want is to have various ministers removed when they make xenophobic statements. What I'm saying is we need to do more than that, because one of the reasons why Gayton Kinsey is able to do that is that there's not a consensus on xenophobia. Our job is not simply to call for someone to be removed, but to call for people to imbibe a set of values that all who live in South Africa belong here, whether they're permanent citizens or not. And there's a lot of religious and other support for the idea that strangers must be welcomed, they must be given food, etc., etc. So that's what I'm referring to.
And you seem to suggest a pattern of lawlessness that prevails regarding foreigners. So can you please explain how this relates to universalism?
Universalism is the idea that all people are brothers and sisters. You don't treat strangers as people who must be outcast. But when people attack foreign traders, very often the police look on and do nothing about it. So on the one hand, people are protected from the statements that they make that are very threatening and should lead to charges. Secondly, when foreign traders are attacked, they are very vulnerable. Hardly any, sometimes the community supports them, depends on who the attack is from. But the police have been photographed stealing things and stuff like that in the past. So that the fact that the police can't be relied on is what I mean by illegality.
And lastly, Raymond, you seem to suggest that xenophobia may now becoming a grassroots phenomenon.
When in the 1980s, I used to do work with comrades from Attridgeville, and I noticed that xenophobic attacks were occurring in Attridgeville. Attridgeville was a central place for showing off the success of popular power. They had street committees, ward committees, all sorts of things at a grassroots level. And they saw themselves as being part of the struggle, but also showing people the way with a new type of democracy at the grassroots. There's another community that I was involved with in Northwest, where in Dinokana, it's a part of Zerust, but I saw that Zerust was also having xenophobic attacks. I don't know if it includes this area. It was a very remarkable place where they sent some young boys to join MK. They were supposed to be initiates, and what I was arguing, based on the information that I had, was that they saw joining MK as a part of their initiation to manhood. Now, I'm not sure if the Zerust attacks includes them, and I'm rather anxious to find out what happened.
Thank you, Professor Raymond.
Thank you.
That was Professor Raymond Suttner speaking to Creamer Media's Polity about part 1 of Xenophobia and Democracy.